With the announcement of Joker in Smash Ultimate and a series of statements from Nintendo, it's clear that the possibility of DLC characters is now in a completely different ballpark. Because what we know up to this point is that a new character doesn't have to have made an appearance on a major Nintendo console. Nintendo is also the one that has picked out the new characters rather than Sakurai, and Reggie also stated that these are going to be characters that are new to the series, just like Joker from Persona 5. Characters that you would not anticipate to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And though it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all third party, I'm gonna run a little with it. Obviously, we don't know who's gonna be in Smash right now, and I think it's more fun to think of the more unexpected and surprising characters to go with. So, here are the top 10 surprising DLC character predictions of mine. If you don't think it's gonna happen, then I kinda did my job right. We'll see. And yes, since we're going for the more unpredictable, Minecraft Steve, get out of here. Sora from Kingdom Hearts, predictable. And Paper Mario, is that an odd choice? Whatever, get out of here. Number 10 is Chibi Robo, the seemingly forgotten robot assistant roaming around the back of Skip Limited's developer mind. Chibi Robo has a cult following, and has existed on screen for a good long while, even making an appearance in Smash Ultimate as a Mii costume. And as many people argued in my last predictions video, this doesn't necessarily mean a character is deconfirmed. In fact, reviving a character from a seemingly dead or inactive franchise sounds like the perfect recipe for a surprise announcement that such fans would enjoy. Not to mention all of the moveset possibilities with his Inspector Gadget-esque abilities. There's a lot of potential with Chibi Robo, and it would be a bit of an oddball. Number 9 on our list is Travis Touchdown, the wacky American assassin otaku guy. Again, with his new appearance coming on Nintendo Switch soon, it's possible that for the sake of extra marketing material, he'll debut on Smash Bros. As well. After all, he is obsessed with video games himself and would certainly know about it. His neon aesthetic and beam katana variants also make him stand out in a handful of little ways, and his art design will be interesting to see in Smash work too. Reaching a little further than just Nintendo with everywhere else except Nintendo consoles, we have the protagonist of the Witcher series, Geralt of Rivia. Fitting similarly to the fantastical world of angels, witches and vampire killers, as a Witcher himself, Geralt is able to introduce more magical attacks alongside his slightly generic sword to fight within Smash. His combat system also gives him chain attacks and different fighting styles which could be adapted in an interesting way. Not to mention, we don't have a lot of older men battling in Smash. The closest we get is Snake and Ganondorf, forgetting the reincarnation aspect. And though his white hair is caused by Witcher mutations, he's still pretty aged regardless. It'll be interesting to see, I think. Speaking of hair, how about no hair? Kratos is an iconic brute of a character known for taking down the largest of gods on pure anger alone. Still working out in that fantasy setting, his choice of weapons also gives him the option for some unique movesets with his giant barbarian hammer, dual-wielding blades of chaos, and boomerang-style Leviathan axe. Not to mention all the other godly relics of his. He can also add further magical abilities to his attacks with all sorts of elemental additions as well. Plus, he's brutish enough to have a legacy of killing gods despite being a mortal human. Someone like Ridley or Ganondorf would just be a tick on his to-do list. Number 6, to cool things down a bit, is Cuphead. Thinking of introducing a more friendlier and more recent addition to the video game crew, Cuphead is set to be an instant classic with its outstandingly unique art style, almost making them fit in with Game & Watch and Pac-Man instantly. Cuphead is also an Xbox and Windows 10 exclusive, but with Microsoft and Nintendo supposedly getting buddy-buddy with each other and Persona 5 being all PlayStation, it makes sense to me that Xbox would also want to step into the crossover world. The Mug's pea shooter and varied special moves could have a good use in Smash similar to Mega Man, or could even utilize the varied attacks of their bosses and the creative animations they utilize. It's a bit of an oddball, but what an addition they would be. Speaking of the little guy, this slot I've held up for an indie character. It's abundantly clear that the indie gaming industry has boomed in recent years, and they are such an iconic element of the gaming world that I would be genuinely surprised if an indie character doesn't pop up in Smash. Who would fit the bill? Man, I don't know for certain. Owlboy's been getting some attention recently, and he looks uniquely different from the rest of the cast, but then the characters of Cave Story have been around and kicking since 2004, and they've amassed a giant following themselves. Not a fan of the more obscure? How's about one of the biggest? Shovel Knight. I know he's already an assist trophy, but if Nintendo is calling the shots and they want Shovel Knight, then what bigger surprise could there be than upgrading one of the characters right under our noses and boosting Shovel Knight into full character status? If you don't like that idea, then I'm afraid our options are getting kind of limited to, but in all seriousness, any indie game character in general would certainly be a must-have for representation and a surprise no matter who they pick. So when I think Persona, I think gigantic and unique Japanese-based game with a lot of style and following. And something that could similarly follow suit, if not too repetitive, is the inclusion of 2B from Nier Automata. Finally, we can have a 4-player match consisting of only robots or androids. Not to mention her fighting style with a series of levitating robotic shooters, as well as kicks, flips, and self-destructing, makes her into a starkly unique fighter with an interesting flair. In my mind, she seems to be another character we've forgotten about on the side, though she's created by the developers of Bayonetta and Star Fox Zero, so there's certainly some close ties going on there. For our number 3 slot, taking a bit more of a predictable angle, there's always one of the characters from the Monster Hunter series yet to make a name for themselves in Smash. Plus, Monster Hunter is coming up to its 15-year anniversary in March of 2019, so things could line up quite nicely. They clearly already like their crossovers as they've teamed up with the Witcher series, Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, and Mega Man in the past. Plus, their fighting style with giant oversized weapons could make them an interesting slow character with really hard hits. And an easy taunt idea is them sitting down to cook and eat. Their final smash could even reference how most fights are done as part of a team of monster hunters, much like Mega Man, or more fittingly Shulk's final smash to play out. Or, you know, just get the monsters themselves to do some attacking. I can imagine the reveal now if it's similar to Joker's, starting with Rathalos against the Smash cast before our guy shows up and saves the day, fighting alongside them as a group, and eating a giant slab of meat once Rathalos is defeated. Like my stuff? Subscribe for more. I've also got a Twitter, Patreon, and Twitch if you'd like more Nintendo things. Now, we've mentioned Platinum Games before in this list, but they also made Wonderful 101. Remember that early Wii U exclusive that nobody really talked about? It seems to be quite an underrated series that generally got positive reviews, but as a moveset has a lot of possibility. Each 101 member has a special trait that, when combined with so many people, can then deal giant amounts of damage. It would need the most creativity to make work on the scale of Smash though, as fighting is usually scaled to be way zoomed out on a street, considering it's a group of 100 people. But if Ridley can be scaled down and Olimar scaled up, there's always a vague possibility it could happen. The cartoony and bouncy humor and style the game has is also something that could be a lot of fun within Smash, I feel. Bringing in a character that's strengthened by such a large army, even if it's just for a final Smash move, would certainly surprise fans who may have forgotten about the game in all this time. And before we hit number 1, here's some honorable mentions. As a start, here's some characters I feel are sub-expected at this point, but are good to mention anyway. People have been raving on for Rhythm Heaven representation, but there's so much about the chorus kids that I feel it's a tad too difficult to work with. Someone more iconic, like the girl on the box art of all these games, or Karate Joe, seem like a much more fitting choice. In general though, a rhythm-based moveset would be cool to see utilised. In thinking what sub-expected JRPG characters that could appear, we could have a character from the nostalgic Chrono Trigger series, or for a more 3D modern style we could have someone from Dragon Quest, or even Ni no Kuni for a Studio Ghibli looking aesthetic. Other more expected characters are Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, it'd be unique with the iciness that ice climbers haven't fully grasped yet, and could use a similar approach to Ryu and Ken. Someone from Soul Calibur could also be a worthy fighter, and they too like their crossovers from all sorts of franchises. Moving on to the weirder character ideas, Phoenix Wright. He made an appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom as a fighter, and he is an iconic character for the puzzle game genre. And if Ultimate can try to make their own PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale game, they can make their own Capcom fighting game too. As a real dumb mini thought of mine, we know that Sakurai has said that only video game characters can appear in Smash. Trust me, I heard your thoughts on the last video. But what if they took on another series with someone from Disney? I know Mickey Mouse isn't outright a video game character, but Nintendo's calling the shots, not Sakurai, and a Disney crossover would destroy everything we imagined. It's Kingdom Hearts, but from another angle. It's the biggest curveball I can imagine for Smash, but if it's possible, oh man. Thinking alongside the idea of an Xbox exclusive appearing to rival Persona, we've already covered the big guy last video, but how about someone from Fable with their medieval 3-weapon cycle? Or if we don't like Space Shooter Man, we can have Chainsaw Shooter Man, or another Space Shooter Man. Or how's about someone who just has a lot of weapons? It's weird still, but Doomguy has a lot of kit to bring over, as does the imagination of someone from Dead Rising, but maybe the more cartoony weapons are best. Or how's about Duke Nukem? These guys may be a bit too shootery for Smash, and Duke is similarly a kinda dead franchise. Speaking of other dead revival options though, if not Banjo and Kazooie, how's about Conker? Unfitting? Or how's about a reappearance from the very, very dead BioShock? The company's down, but I can dream of Elizabeth and her portals. Or, hold on, speaking of portals, Valve has not made a game in years, and with the overwhelming success of Steam, it's clear they're not planning to anymore. Your Half-Life 3 was never going to come. But imagine how great it'd be if Nintendo's reach ranged all the way to Valve and their iconic, physics-defying puzzle girl, Chell. Her ability to use portals could give her a unique means of movement and attacks that could make her a very unique and unmissable character. Plus, it revived an element of a gaming giant lost to another system. Having someone from Valve seems like the biggest jump Smash Bros could make, and I think it is the most surprising yet most amazing character DLC option for all of Smash Ultimate, and I think it's possible. But what are your thoughts? I'm sure I said something in there controversial, but if you have alternative ideas for surprising characters, then do be sure to let me know. Maybe I should have mentioned more Nintendo characters. That's a tad less fun. Diddy Kong and Bandana D seem almost too predictable at this point. And another Mario? Still, I hope you enjoyed this video, if not at least for the ideas of speculation for Smash. Obviously, unless you're from next year, we don't know who's coming in Smash. And honestly, that prospect is just as fun to me as playing the game itself. Anyway, I should be ending it off here. I'm gonna go have an actual Christmas break now. We'll be back in a little bit, but I'm gonna miss a couple of upload slots. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me and this video. Here are my links if you want to see more of me. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.